All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisory Podcast. Got a cool guest today. He is one of my clients, actually, and that's how we kind of became really close. We'll talk about that. But his name is Mark Peters, and he is owner of R&M Construction. He's got a really cool story to tell, so welcome, Mark. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Tony. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's talk briefly how we tell the guys how we met. What's your interpretation of how we met?
Well, I decided to go to a network meeting. I believe that's how it started. Kind of a mutual person that we both knew.
Yep.
And he invited me to a network meeting, and you totally stuck out like a sore thumb. So,
in a good way or bad way?
I think it was a good way, just coming from my industry.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this guy doesn't fit the mold of this network meeting. I mean, I don't really fit the mold to go into these realtor.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. I'm like, but I got a connection because I do all the construction stuff like that. So realtors kind of fit, but you totally didn't fit.
That's cool.
So I was just like, what's your story? I think that's what I asked you. I was like, what's your story? And you were like, well,
here I am. Boys.
I'm a lineman by trade.
Yeah. But it's weird because like that was one of the first events that I was kind of in a rut when I reached out to my friends who were either co-hosting. I can't remember what Sarah and Shay were, what their connection was to Sean at that. If they were helping or just attending maybe. I called up Sarah and I'm like, Sarah, I'm kind of in a rut. Can I just attach myself to you for a day or two and like just because they're always doing cool shit, right? I'm like, let me just come out and hang out with you. She goes, dude, we got a badass event right now. Come on down. And I'll never forget, after that event, I took it at face value. Like, I'm going to go there. It's a networking event. I'm going to network. I'm going to exchange numbers, blah, 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 talk to you. I took it serious. And then I told Sarah how it went. And she's like, you actually got, like, connections? And, like, she goes, most people just go and fuck off and drink. And I'm like, huh? Like, why do you call it a networking event if you're going to go just fuck off? Like, that's what I thought it was for. I was like too stupid to know that people just fucked him off. And I was like, I took it serious. And then that's how I met you. And it was great. And
I guess I'm stupid in that sense too, because
you're taking it serious.
Yeah. Right. Like I go there to meet people trying to drum up some business.
Yes.
And that's the point.
And not be fake about it, not just be transactional, but look for a connection. If it works, like you and I, it was not just transactional. It was like, this is pretty cool. Cool, dude. If it works, it works. Great.
And totally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those network meetings with, I hate to say it, but like real estate partners and mortgage broker partners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I walk into them, I kind of get a sense that they're sort of fake. Like, I think everyone's just kind of putting on a mask because, now the industry sucks. So they're all trying to save face and put this massive smile on their face and kiss everybody's ass. And I don't know.
That, I think they just don't know. And maybe they're not trying to be. Maybe they're just that's just how they don't know how to be genuine, or they don't know how to not. I don't know. I just take it as I'm so not of that industry that I don't know how to act like that. I just do me. Just be me and take it or leave it. Right.
Well, and I think that's kind of why you stuck out a little bit too.
Right. Yeah, right.
Because I'm like, wait a second.
This
guy's not blowing smoke.
It doesn't even look like a fucking guy. Like, finance. I think I was wearing like a flannel and jeans. I think.
Yeah, you were totally.
Yeah. Like so. Like but that's what's worked for me, and that's what's always. I'm going to continue that because while I don't want to like shit on the industry and like think that they're fake, that's just how they are. That's what maybe they were taught, or they just don't know how to be not that person.
I think
but I don't know how to be that person. That's the difference.
I think there's a certain amount of BS that you need to put up a front when you're a real estate agent.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, just inherent throughout the industry.
They're just trying to be friendly all the time. And I don't know that friendly works either for my industry or just for me. I just try to be genuine, and if it works, not friendly. There's a difference, I think.
You know, like you can be overly friendly, and if you're not real, then
smell it right away.
Yeah, man. And people like you and me, we can smell that shit a mile away.
I think it's a blue collar thing, right?
I think so.
You know, and even I would even call realtors blue collar to a degree, right? They're working. It's not like it's probably a gray area. Yeah. But like really deep blue collar shit, you smell it right away because and whatever it is, if we're out in the trade, we're getting dirty and sweaty and muddy and bloody, like. We don't care about the fake shit.
We've been through it. We've had so many people try to blow smoke up our ass that we can call it.
Especially you as a entrepreneur and a business owner. Like people are selling you all the time, whether you are shopping or not, right? I mean, it's just kind of like they're probably coming to you all the time trying to use your product, or they want you to use their products and a lot of stuff, right? So
and I think there's a certain degree of sales once you become an entrepreneur, really with any kind of avenue that you're going into. I don't care if you're a chiropractor, I don't care if you're a doctor, financial advisor, GC, construction, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of sales that has to go into it.
Just inherently, right? Which I didn't I was so anti that when I first got in because I didn't like the salesman side of things. And I just kind of winged it for the first year and a half, trying not to be salesy. But it worked. Now I'm learning, okay, there's a level of salesman that has to happen to be successful. Doesn't mean you got to be salesy. You just got to have sales skills and talk to people. And
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to be the cheesy shit that you and I don't like, but you have to be something. And I think you've got a good quality of that. I don't ever feel sales by you or, just, but you have to have a personality and talk to people.
And it's tough to read the client too, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty good at it coming from a hospitality background. Like you learn how to read clients in a hurry.
Yep.
So, I've been told on both ways, like, hey, you're trying to sell too much. You're overly pushy. But then at the same time, I've been told that like, you're not trying to sell it enough.
Yep.
Like you're just telling them how it is.
Same. I get told transactional. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm trying to help you, and then go to the next person, help them, and help. Like, but there's a fine line of that too, right? And it's an art form. It keeps me interested in doing this shit.
And some of them we get, some of them we don't, right? Some
just
of
be
them
okay
like,
with that.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like, all right, dude. Good luck. I hope it works for you.
One thing about you that I can commend is like you are absolutely persistent.
Yeah. But not too much.
No, like it's like that. It's like that weekly phone call where I'm like, yeah, I'm still thinking about it. I'll talk to you next week.
Yep. But I took that at face value. I always tell people, listen, I'm going to bug you until you tell me to fuck off. And I'm okay with that. But until you do, I'm going to do my job and follow up and see if there's any questions you may have or, whatever. And to your credit, you said, okay, I'll tell you when it's time to fuck off. But until then, yeah, keep bugging me. And I'm like, all right, cool. So there was, actually a cool story between the time it took you to become a client because you were with me at my previous firm.
Yeah.
And then you said, no, fuck it. If you're leaving there, I'm leaving there. And a nicely worded email you sent those boys. That was great. And then you followed me over to
It was
Penn
respectable.
Mutual. It was good. And that's what I said. Nicely worded email. It was great.
Not friendly.
Correct. Nicely worded does not have to be friendly. But it was cool. And it actually really meant a lot to me to know that not only did you have other options to go with, you had reasons to go with somebody else. And you said, nope, Tony's my guy and I'm sticking with that. That was really cool. I like that.
And I mean, I didn't let you out the hook easy. I was
going to get to that part too.
I definitely put you through the ringer when it come to knowing your product and what was the best fit for sure.
And what was cool about that, it was like, I knew what I was doing was right, but you forced me to like dig into that. Like, okay, yes, why, how, why, show me this, show me that. And it was like a training for me. It was cool. It was great. It's like, yeah, dude, the more questions you have, if I don't know the answer, I need to know the answer. And it forced me to dig deep and find it. And ultimately we found you the best policy that we could do. It was awesome.
Well, and even after the fact, I mean, I think we discussed that other guy and he's like, oh, I can sell you pen. I can say this. I can do that. And like months after the fact that I'm already signed up with you, this guy's still telling me how I made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then show me on paper.
Right. And that was kind of like, that's the industry though, right? That's what I don't like the industry sometimes because of that, because there's that, oh, you could have come with me, I could do this. And it's like, if you really can't, you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't be rewriting policies unless they're apples and oranges different and better. And that's what I do. It's like, hey man, the guy didn't overfund it at all.
And if he could have done better, like why didn't he do that in the first place?
Right. Well, I know why. Because he was trying to get as much commission as he could without telling. He's trying to give you these little bit of crumbs. I'll do, and then I just came out right away. Bam! Here's what we can do.
Yeah, but I'd like to have a little bit of a pie than no piece of the pie.
That's you and I's mentality.
Yeah,
that's not most people. Most people are greedy and they think, oh, well, your budget's X, Y, Z. I want all of it. Well, I don't want to overfund it at all.
We're all out here to make a living, right? We're all here to make money. We're
not running a charity.
No, absolutely not. And, you've got two sides of the spectrum all the time. You got the guy that wants it next to nothing and cheap.
Yep.
But then you've got the guy that doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about what his money's doing, where it's going, how it's going there. He's just dumping money into stuff. Like, I've found it best practice for me is like, I understand I'm going to need the sale. To continue business. Yeah. I'm going to need the sales. I'm going to need the clients. I'm going to need to move forward. But for me, there's got to be a value to it. I don't want to be so underpriced that I'm cutting myself short because I do quality shit.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be overpriced either. So like as you as a consumer have to get done with the project or done with our interaction and be like, okay, I got some real value to this. You know, so that's a fine line too, like where you run it, you know. So
at least having respect for yourself and your product.
I would agree with that.
Because I've turned away clients after they've just, you know, strung me along, said, yeah, I'll sign up, and I got to chase them down for this, chase them. It's like, you know what, dude, I want to help you, but I got to be careful to just appear to be desperate, because I'm not desperate. Like, exactly. I want you, I don't need you, and I can't just spend all my time chasing the client that doesn't want it. Cool. If I want this more than you, it ain't going to work, dude. Because if you just got to if I got to chase you down to do your application, then there's the medical exam, then there's follow-up questions maybe, then there's X, Y, Z. There's different times I need to get a hold of you to make this thing done. And if I got to chase you down for step 1, I'm not fucking jumping through hoops for steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just don't do it. So like for you, same thing. If the client's a pain in the ass, you know it's not worth it. You get to a point of like, hey, dude, the questions you're asking, I can tell this is going to go down a road I don't want to go down to. Yeah. So it's like, hey, this is better off. Maybe we don't.
That goes back to reading people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's fun. So
we've walked away from a couple of them, you know, it's just
not a good fit.
No, and you know, like I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
In the beginning, like I will bend over backwards to do whatever I can to get you as much information as you need.
Yeah.
Like you said, until.
Yeah.
Where it hits that point where
it's respect for yourself.
You know, quick story here. These people want to do a large renovation on their house. They've got structural stuff on the outside, windows, the whole 9, kitchen. Like it's a substantial size project.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing them samples. I had every single trade out there to look at it to make sure my numbers are going to be right.
Yeah.
Everything's dialed in, push. And then I had another client that needed the sample boards, right?
Yep.
So I run down there and I'm like, hey, can I pick up the sample boards? That'd be great. And they're like, yeah, we'll leave them outside.
Okay.
So I show up. Their car's in the driveway. I know that they're home. I was going to have a quick conversation with them when I pick up the sample boards, knock on the door. They send their kid to the door and he says, hey, sorry, my dad's busy right now. Can you call him later? And I can see dad in the kitchen.
Oh.
That was then.
That's the then, yeah. Cool. You tell them that won't be necessary. Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Sure thing, man.
It's like loud and clear. Gotcha. Totally cool, man.
You know, and again, like I'm not going to condemn them for using somebody else. Fine.
No,
you
but
know,
it's like, you know that if you got past that hurdle, there's another hurdle.
Yeah.
Another hurdle. That's time for payment. There's another hurdle. It's not worth it, dude.
No.
And Ace, you've got a business. Like you've been down that road before too, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just not worth the headache if it gets to that point, man. So let's talk about, that's a great opening because we got way down the rabbit hole. But let's talk about your old W-2 or your old prior to R&M Construction. Let's talk about your life before that. So you didn't always own a construction company.
I didn't. No.
So what was your W-2 life like? What was that?
Know, I would say the couple of years before I actually started my business and got fired up and rock and roll and heavy, I was doing insurance restoration work. You know, I was a project manager. It was still construction based and stuff like that. But
I mean, working for a company or on your own?
I was working for a couple of different companies there for I don't know. I would say probably 3 or 4 years before I was starting the company.
Sure.
But I mean, even at that point, I was kind of just coming out of the tail end of a pretty serious alcohol addiction. So, you know, I would say the last few companies I was with, I was there fairly consistently. But I mean, to be honest with you, Tony, before that, man, I had 12 W-2s in 1 year.
All from alcoholism being the problem?
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
I mean, that's a job a month.
Yeah. That's a lot,
That's hospitality industry, man. I was hospitality management.
So tell me about that. Like, what kind of hospitality we're talking?
Well, I mean, to give you an idea, I was the youngest senior director that they ever had at a gentleman's club here in Denver.
Okay.
So I'm 27 years old running a club.
Okay.
And I mean, that was just kind of the perpetuated everything.
Not a good environment if you've got a problem with drinking, right?
Yeah, you know,
it kind of enables you, right?
And that was backwards, man. Like I quit drinking to go to college.
Yeah.
And then it started back up after I got out.
Nice.
So that was the only way I made it through college.
Yeah,
I stopped.
Smart. So what made you, did you have like a come to Jesus moment? Like you're like, I'm just done. Like did you hit rock bottom? What's that like?
Yeah, man. I was in the hospital going through some withdrawals and stuff. You know, it was just a little bit different than a typical hangover, you know. So I'd cruise down to the hospital and as I was going through withdrawals, I ended up having a seizure.
Jesus.
And, you know, I was crib Catholic. I was raised Catholic and whatnot, you know. And the layperson came in on Sunday to give me communion, and I just fell apart. Like, I just started crying like a baby, and I'm like, hey, can somebody please help me here, you know?
Yeah.
So a few hours later, we got this Catholic priest walking the door, and I'm like, what's this going to do for me?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I've been down this road.
Right.
And believe it or not, like the Catholic priest was an alcoholic, and he was 18 years sober in AA, and he drugged me to my first meeting out of the hospital.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I fell off the boat one time after that, but I actually ran into a guy that I knew 20 years ago when I was forced to go to AA through the court system. And after I fell off the boat, got back on that horse, dude. Like I've been tight with him ever since.
That's awesome.
Like he's my temporary sponsor for like 2 years now.
Okay, that's cool. So how long? If you don't mind me asking, how long have you been sober?
I got 5 years.
That's
December
awesome.
5th was
That's
5.
so cool.
So,
Congratulations.
Well, none of the construction or the business or any of that would be possible without it.
Right.
You know?
Well, and then also like sometimes the social, like the cocktail hours, right?
Sure.
You're kind of forced to go to those, and you can't drink. Like that's got to be a struggle too. And kudos to you for being able to do that, because like, and I even asked you about my sponsor. I've got a tequila sponsor. I asked you off air, man, is that going to be a problem? You're like, no, it's cool. Like not everyone can do that. So you've come a long way in a short time. I have personal stories, family members that this would be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's why I ask. I'm respectful. Like, hey, dude, but for you not to be a problem, that's cool, man. And you're working, you've obviously found the success.
Yeah.
And you see that it's worth it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There's not a drink in the world that's worth not having what you have, right? So
you got it.
That's got to be
I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, man. Like realistically, the mental shift that happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's a spiritual change, a mental shift. The whole kind of culmination of all that together is really what draws you away. Because you can't do it on willpower alone, man. Sure. I don't know how many times I tried. You know, like, I'm going to only have beers after I work out, or I'm only going to drink if there's chicks here.
Yeah, you're just stubborn enough to think you can do it.
Yeah,
and you're like, man.
Yes,
so
man.
Tell me about that. How long did you try that method for?
Years.
Really?
Years and years.
And it's never. No. It never stuck.
I could string a little while together. I get a couple of months here and there.
A couple wins here together, but then always back to a loss.
It was always back to a loss. And realistically, the thing that changed for me, and I'll go out on a limb and say most alcoholics that want to find recovery, the thing that changes is when you start to actually realize that you're worth it.
That self-worth. Yeah.
Yes, man. It's huge.
Well, how do you get that?
Huge.
Like how'd you find that?
It's 12 steps of recovery, man. Humility.
Okay.
I mean, if you break it down to the nuts and bolts of this thing, like it's humility, man.
Okay.
It's about going out there and making those amends and really sucking your pride down and saying, hey, like I'm a human and I'm okay with being me.
Yeah. So once you found your self-worth, it kind of just took off. Right?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And now I wouldn't trade it for a thing in the world.
Awesome.
So this tequila sitting here
doesn't bother you. Right. That's not worth anything to you. No, that's
absolutely
cool.
not.
That's cool. Let's talk about when you left your last W-2 job and you kind of, I guess, between that and starting R&M Construction, like what was that process? What made you do it and how were you able to do it?
That's a pretty cool story, actually.
I remember you telling me this story one time, so I want to hear it on air.
I honestly think that everything's ultimately by design now. That's my mentality now. I don't think anything happens by chance.
Okay.
Or luck or anything of that sort. I think that everything, we all vibrate at a certain frequency or resonance. We resonate with the world that we interact in, right?
Okay.
So I think that once you start changing your mindset and your mentality,
that's huge.
And you start getting an ideal, something to look for, a goal to set your mind to, hey, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. I don't want to be a piece of shit. I want to be a good person. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have some quality attributes as a human being in society.
Yeah.
Once you make those decisions, you start making every single decision you make just kind of point you in that direction.
With intention. Yeah.
With intention.
Yeah.
And then after all these little teeny decisions start piling up in that corner, next thing you know, you're like, whoa.
I'm here.
I'm going this direction.
Okay.
So I'm doing the sobriety gig. I'm working for the company. And I'm at this particular company, I'm BD, business development. I'm doing sales. And it's a mitigation company, right?
Okay.
And I'm out there selling my ass off. And I'm making sales, but I'm like, hey, here's a kitchen remodel. Hey, here's a fire loss that we need to do.
And you know what these are adding up to profit-wise, and you're just getting peanuts, right?
Well, he's sitting there going, we're mitigation, man. We're not even a construction company.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like,
mistook that. Okay. Gotcha.
So what?
Like give it to somebody else?
Dude, I got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work here. Like, are we just not going to do this?
Yeah, yeah.
So he was, can I make a shout out to him? So
yeah,
he was the owner of Rely on Restoration. They just got bought out. He was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And his name's Rich Velasquez.
Okay.
And the guy was probably one of the kindest, solid people I know. Because he knew I was coming with intention, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so his energy